Aloha nui.
Aloha, mai kako. Mahalo to Imai. Mahalo to our partners here at Aliʻiōlani Hale for having us, and to all of the organizers of Lā Hoʻihoʻi Ea for partnering with us to remember the times that we saw in the video and think about how all of us together are going to move forward from here on out in honorance of our kupuna and for all of our opio generations. Today we are celebrating, we continue to celebrate Lā Hoʻihoʻi Ea, and we also honor the incredible lives and legacies of George Helm, Kimo Mitchell, and the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana. My name is Laura Kaakua. I am really a mere volunteer with Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana. My husband is Josh Kaakua, who is one of the kua of Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana. So I'm honored to be here with folks who have dedicated so much of their lives for so many years to doing exactly what George talked about in that lovely movie, which is go over there and touch it, right, is what he said. And I wrote that down. And that is what Protect Kahoʻolawe has been doing. To know Kahoʻolawe is to love Kahoʻolawe. And maybe we'll start with a show of hands. How many people have been on Kahoʻolawe and had that experience? Awesome. How many people who have not gone would like to go in the future? Okay, mahalo. We will start with these long introductions. Auntie Davy and Kaliko are very esteemed, and so I have a whole page of all of their accolades here. Auntie Davianna McGregor is a historian, an author, a professor emerita of ethnic studies and oral history, and a founding member of the ethnic studies department at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She's been a supporter of Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana, I would say more like a heartbeat of Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana since its founding in 1976. She serves as a steward, helping to coordinate cultural fieldwork on the island. She's a board member of Molokaʻi Land Trust, seeking to protect and restore the land and natural and cultural resources of Molokaʻi. I've seen Auntie Davy making a whole set of stairs by herself on Kahoʻolawe. I've seen her covered in dirt and working harder than people who are 30 years younger than her. So this is a bunch of accolades here. But really what Kaliko and Davianna give is all of that behind the scenes work, getting themselves over, paying for their own flights to Maui, making it all happen so that we can have that reconnection with Kahoʻolawe. Kaliko Baker, he's been a polopeka ʻōlelo Hawaii at Kuʻaihuelani Center for Hawaiian Language at UH Manoa since 1996. He currently serves as chair of the PhD program in Hawaiʻinuiākea School of Hawaiian Knowledge. Kumu Kaliko is also a lifetime member of the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana. Since 2003, he's served as the head mo'olono leading makahiki ceremonies on the island, also helping to reintegrate ʻōlelo Hawaii into cultural ceremonies. And I will say that's also in partnership with Haleʻopua. I've had the privilege of being there and understanding maybe half of what's being said, but being just totally invigorated by them bringing their students, not only to Kahoʻolawe, but to other wahi pana, and just living it, right? From washing dishes in ʻōlelo Hawaii to ceremony in ʻōlelo Hawaii. It's a beautiful thing and lifetime work. So with that ahead, I want to jump right in. And with this group, it's a perfect size for us maybe later on to open it up for more conversation too. But we'll jump right in to get it started. So as we all saw on the video, with the struggle to stop the bombing of Kahoʻolawe as a defining moment in our history with George Helm, Kimo Mitchell, of course, our beloved Uncle Emmett, and all of those who started PKO, inspired many others to become advocates for Hawaii's lands and waters and showed how much power the people actually have, right, to go against the US military and stop the bombing and now allow for this reconnection and restoration that can happen. As the film showed, Kahoʻolawe's story is a story of, occupation, also resistance and reclamation. And so how would you describe the island story today? And maybe another way to look at it is how would you describe our story and Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana's story today?
Well, aloha kākou, and nice to see everybody here this evening. One of our leaders, Craig Neff, would say, we're those of us going now are living the dream that George Helm and Kimo, well, more so his father, Uncle Harry Mitchell, was very much involved in our kupuna, and Uncle Lesi Kulaloyo and Emira Luli and Auntie Alice, all the early time kupuna who guided us to get to the island safely and know how to live without running water and without electricity, and how to, thrive on an island. And their dream that we're living today. So, but today the island is one of really coming and being immersed in our natural elements, and coming there to separate ourselves from the mundane and secular life that we usually live in, and really take a moment to immerse ourselves in these natural elements and honor them as our ancestors did as a kua, and acknowledge that here in Hawaii, our lives are blessed by these natural elemental forces, and Kahoʻolawe allows us as Kanaka to make that connection and to realize how important that element is to living in Hawaii. And it's hard because we have so much development, infrastructure, and our day-to-day lives going on here. But you don't really need all of that to really just enjoy Hawaii. We have the ocean that gives us food. We have the land that we can cultivate to give us life. And we have fresh water that comes from the heavens that we can, devise ways to catch. And like we have to give us drinking water. There are many ways that we can live in Hawaii without all the things we think we need. So Kahoʻolawe gives us a chance to see way of life in Hawaii as our ancestors lived it, and to see the potential for island ecosystems to thrive and be sustainable. And I think Kahoʻolawe is, when we accomplished stopping the bombing in 1990, and the state of Hawaii received the island back in 1994, the governor Waihe'e and the legislature created a law which said that the island's going to come back and be held by the state of Hawaii, but it's going to be the state is only holding it in trust for eventual transfer to the sovereign Hawaiian entity. And so this is how Kahoʻolawe is a chance for us to see and envision sovereignty. What is Ea? How do we live Ea? And how we need to do that. In order to do that, we need to be very close to our ʻāina and be able to elevate that ʻāina and recognize that this ʻāina is what is the core of living in Hawaii, whether you are Kanaka or not Kanaka. So it's an opportunity to witness climate change and begin to anticipate what those changes are going to be like when we see the tides rising much higher than they used to be, and the streams running off into the ocean and creating new beaches, and the threats to our archaeological sites, and the changes that are coming. It's a place where we can observe these changes that are coming to all of our islands and begin to plan for our future that can still be sustainable, relying upon our traditional knowledge and ike kupuna. In this time of climate change, we're entering into a period where the akua will be dominant, the kanaloa, the ocean rising, the kane, the konalos, and the other rainstorm. This is a time, because of the instability created by a capitalist economy and an imperialist economy throughout our world, that natural elements have gotten into imbalance. And how do we begin to achieve balance is what we can learn on Kahoʻolawe, the importance of achieving that balance, and to recognize that, these distortions, these aberrations in how to in economic activities have led to imbalance, and now is the time where the akua will seek that balance, and we have to observe and learn how as kanaka we can thrive nevertheless.
Mahalo. I want to go back to what was shared by someone in our audience earlier, that a lot of what we heard in the film resonates today, right? It's the same response and advice that maybe George would have given all of us. He talks about how the world's problems are from man's ego, man's greed. And I think I saw a lot of there's a lot going on right now, and I saw a lot of thoughts going on in people's minds. And you talk about how Kahoʻolawe gives us that opportunity to return to ʻāina, to return to what is needed to sustain life. And so I'll go to Kaliko and ask, kind of in the context of all of the crazy, heartbreaking things that are happening in our world right now, what meaning does Ea and Aloha ʻāina take on for the ʻOhana at this time?
Oh, mahalo nui. Aloha nui kako. It's wonderful to see an audience here this evening, this Wednesday afternoon, going into evening. Perhaps like you, my Mauli's a little offset right now because of that film. You know, it takes you to a space where it's you wonder, what if? I should have answered the question. Okay. Yeah. But Olalo no Eau came to me, or not came to me, I just recalled one at the end of the film. We were singing one of our mele Lā Hoʻihoʻi. He hale kipa kawai maka na ke aloha. One more time. He hale kipa kawai maka na ke aloha. Waimaka are tears. Tears are the house where love lives. And so if you found yourself tearing up at the end of that film, it's just because you share in that aloha for those in that film. So mahalo to Puhipau guys for filming back in the day. Ian Lin as well. I believe a lot of his footage was used so that we can bring that those images and those times back to the present. As Imai mentioned earlier when he was opening up this space for us, he said Ea is more than the popular meaning that it has today of sovereignty. It also means to rise up, to come up. It all, and in that sense, you know, those clips, those videos, there weren't videos back then, films perhaps back then, have ho'eho, they have re-emerged for us. And they too can have effect upon us and motivate us, move us to be in certain ways. So Ea is also life. Ea is, well, the name of the man who said this. Okea o Kalahui Heaupuni. Is that, who was that? Who was that? Who said that? Koko. Huh? Kalani? Kahale Maile. What a beautiful name. How could I forget that? Kahale Maile. Okea o Kalahui Heaupuni. The life of a nation of people is to have a government. And he said this. He had a series of these sayings, okay, oka something, ka something, and he had a series of these sayings that he likened to the importance of being independent. And Ea is such a core concept to Kanaka Maoli consciousness. Perhaps to say that it was core prior to Kauikeauli would be interesting, but at least in the time of the Aupuni Mo'i, or the kingdom, it was an important and very important concept to the people. I would say that it probably would date back to the Kamehameha time, because when Kamehameha conquers all the islands, you get his Ea, and unifies them under his rule. Now, that's a perspective, of course, right? My people come from Kohala, so I say unifying the islands under his rule. Perhaps if you're from somewhere else, you would frame that another way. But yeah, but Ea and Kahoʻolawe. Kahoʻolawe, as I'm gonna do what Laura was doing. She was just looping into the film. Super smart that. Anyway, so it was Ea and Kahoʻolawe, as George Helm was saying. Kahoʻolawe, another name for Kahoʻolawe. Oh, I like give pop quiz. I like give pop quiz. You're just paying attention. Bingo. Kohe malama lama. Kohe malama lama. The kohe, he explains the kohe as the means by which things are born, come into being. And malama lama is enlightenment. The Kanaka, from the time of the overthrow, and I personally argue from 1820 on, from the time of the overthrow of the religion, we have been on this slippery slope, losing ground, losing air. It's hard not for me to not see the connection between the loss of our religion and the loss of our sovereignty. So when we think about this kohe malama lama, what Kahoʻolawe has done for this modern era of Hawaii has been to give us this beacon of hope. Pukui and others translate kohe malama lama as ko hema lama lama, so the southern beacon of light, for whatever reasons they had. But I believe Uncle Harry Mitchell, guys, who was playing the guitar in the video in the back, the old man with the hat. Anyway, he definitely said kohe. I trust his pronunciations of Olelo Hawaii, because he was a very good Olelo Hawaii speaker. Yes. So what it is in the connection, in connecting Kahoʻolawe and Ea, what we find is that Kahoʻolawe is this portal of sorts. And Auntie Davy's book on Kipuka Aloha ʻāina talks about this concept of these oases of spaces where aloha ʻāina and rekanakafication. She doesn't use that word. That's me making up words in front of you. It's this sort of rekanakafication of our people through these spaces that allow us to do that. Kahoʻolawe is a space where that happens. Pretty good space. We're maybe biased a little bit, but pretty good space to do so. Um, yeah, I could probably put a Kiko Paul right there. That's probably enough. Yeah, but mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo. So much to think about in that response. Thank you.
Slip it.
I think, we talk about Ea as life, Ea as sovereignty, and even our ability to live as Hawaiians is sometimes a struggle, right? And so I wonder about your connection between the loss of religion and the loss of sovereignty, and maybe we'll go back to you and then to Davy for the next one. For you, Kaliko, you've led makahiki ceremonies now on Kahoʻolawe for more than 20 years. And so what does it mean to restore ceremony to a place where tradition was interrupted?
Yeah. So as I was getting at earlier, is that too loud? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. Okay. As I was getting at earlier, 1820, we find the religious practices being overthrown, taken away, temples demolished, ki'i burned, civil war even in Hawaii. And what there's a strong correlation I see between that moment, that point in time in our history, where Keopulani says no more that religion, and Liho has to do it because there's political things going on around that forces him to do that, where he has to go fight his, well, might as well call him his brother, and then what we see is this sort of Kanakas walking away from being Kanaka and looking at government and government structures through the lens of the oppressor. And we might talk about all those, I mean, Imai, he mentioned earlier about the great feats that Kauikeauli accomplished in these very places right near us. And yes, no doubt, given the cards he was dealt, he did a great job. But I can't help but to think, what would have happened if our lens was a little bit more Kanaka? What would have happened if we still maintained our traditional ways and just adapted a bit to the ways of the foreigner? Instead of saying, oh, foreigner, you obviously are the better human being, and therefore we must see the world through your lens and see that your governmental structures are the ones that we need. So when we talk about Ea and Ho'omana, kapu even, and ceremony, George Helm and company, Emmett Aluli as well, were animate, you might say, in reestablishing traditional ways of engaging ceremonial practice or engaging ʻāina. In the late 70s, Uncle George and George guys had a meeting with and to eat it kanaka ole. So we're told. I was maybe kindergarten when all this was happening. I was the little boy. riding around, riding my bike in my bibidi isla, the kind. So get that image. Okay, here we go. Jokes aside, nervous. Anyway, but yeah. So if you think about that time, and then they have this meeting, and what they talked about was bringing Lono Ika Makahiki back as practice. Lono is the god of Makahiki. And Auntie Edith was also on board with this. And it's in hindsight, and I believe this is what they were thinking, because Lono is the god of the people. Lono is the god that gathered everybody once a year to through the Makahiki ceremonies and rituals and circuits and things like that, would create a Lā Hoʻihoʻi of Kanaka. And Lono, if you think about, for example, the god of the warrior was Lono. His implements were Lono. If you think about what Lono means to hear, to listen to things, to be informed. That's what good Kanaka do. They are informed. Ku, on the other hand, was the god of the chiefs, politics, etc., war. Most times people don't really want to go to war. Leaders want to go to war. I don't know if it's different now. I think it's the same. But yeah, so when we think about Ea Ho'omana Kahoʻolawe, what Kahoʻolawe has done was, okay, Emmett Aluli filed a lawsuit. Look where we're at. Filed a lawsuit. Luli, it ends up being Aluli versus Brown when the settlement comes out. Under the Native American Religious Freedom Act, he is successful in his suit. Come around 1980, consent decree is signed. Consent decree is 10 days a month, no bombing. 4 of those days, the ʻOhana gets access to the island. Part of that agreement is a religious practice has to come with it. Given the conversations in the late 70s, the teachings of the Edith Kanakaʻole Foundation at the Edith tells perhaps her daughter Ndinalani to work with the ʻOhana in developing the modern day mo'olono, or the Lono priests who carry on that tradition today. That's where we come. That's the genealogy that we fall in. So we get that. But what it does is it connects, dare I call it resistance, I call it, or maybe we should call it engagement in with ʻāina. It connects this engagement with ʻāina and our religious practice. Because for the ʻOhana, those are inseparable. There's some parts in that video of one of the first accesses to Kahoʻolawe. I believe that was the first legal access, right?
Mm-hmm.
February 13th, 1976. The yacht-ish boat, people jumping off into a little fishing boat, a zodiac of sorts, being pontoon boat being pushed with ukana. Uncle Walter's on the side swimming it. That scene. And then you see a couple old people, the elder man over the ava, that's that's Kahuna Sam Lono. There was another image of an elder woman walking up, that's Auntie Emma DeFries. It's kupuna like that who set the kapu for how we, as the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana, engage with Kahoʻolawe. We access Kahoʻolawe with ihi. Ihi is reverence, as if we are, no, not as if, we are less than the ʻāina. There's a saying, he aliʻi ka ʻāina, he kauā ke kanaka. One more time. He aliʻi ka ʻāina, he kauā ke kanaka. The land is a chief. Mankind, humankind, are servants. That's how we approach ʻāina. This is in stark contrast to the Western way. That is absolutely opposite of what they teach you in the West. Anyway, that's probably good, huh?
That's good. That's good. And that brings us to action. So we've heard about restoring ceremony in order to bring life back to Kahoʻolawe, right? To give that reverence once again. And so I want to go to Auntie Davy now. As well as ceremony restoring, I've seen you bring how many classes of students now to Kahoʻolawe? I've seen a lot of people start in your class and then go on to be leaders of not only the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana, but in their various communities. And so I know that through your teachings, they understand that they're not just learning about Kahoʻolawe as something that they see in a movie and the story stops there, but they come to island, they become part of that ongoing history. And so, as we know, the ʻOhana is an ʻOhana of action. And I'm wondering, Auntie Davy, what is it that you hope your students will act upon after having that experience on Kahoʻolawe? And what is something that you hope this group here can take action on after tonight?
Yeah. Well, the whole experience of Kahoʻolawe, why we have our huaka'i, we keep among our ʻOhana, we bring volunteers to the island, but we're risking ourselves. I mean, we're totally vulnerable to all kind of liability issues, but we do it because we know that by ourselves being touched by the island, that was what triggered our commitment and our determination to continue to malama that island and to heal it, importantly. And so what is it that we want to do when we bring people to the island? It's just like when the bombing stopped and went all through the hearings with the on every island, say, okay, if the bombing stops, what are you going to do at the island? And what the answer is that it becomes a cultural center, a place of learning Hawaiian culture. And George Helm's image was that it would be a pu'uhonua, a refuge for Hawaiian culture, where Hawaiian cultural practices can thrive. And so we work very closely with the Edith Kanakaʻole Foundation, and Edith Kanakaʻole was the one who, when Emmett and George Helm went to visit her, to explain the experience they had on the island and explain, we saw this destruction, but we felt this profound mana. And she was the one who said that, this island is kanaloa. It is very sacred. It was held sacred by our ancestors. And that we need to not organize as an association. You heard George was saying we're a Protect Kahoʻolawe Association. You need not to organize an association. You have to organize as an ʻOhana, as an extended family for this keiki ʻāina, this keiki moku. And organize in a Hawaiian way with, as with kupuna and makua, and then you raise your kamali'i and organize as an ʻOhana and look upon this island as a keiki that's been abused, and embrace this keiki and raise it as your own and embrace it as you would as a member of your ʻOhana. So that was very important foundation for us in terms of how we interact with the island. It sets our whole framework that we're there to care for the island and to learn from the island as our kupuna, but also to heal this island from the abuse that it experienced. And so how do we begin to do that? We work again with the Kanakaʻole Foundation. They have a cultural plan, Kukulu Ke Ea Kanaloa, to be the pillars that will give life and breath and sovereignty back to Kanaloa and this island and the Kanaloa spirit and the Kanaloa essence throughout the ʻāina, the Pai ʻāina. And when we come and we bring our families and students and communities, we want them to experience Hawaiian cultural practice. We want to share with them sort of the basics of what a cultural practitioner experiences, just the initial basics. And one is that they call first is lololo, and that means observations, that you need to observe the seasonal changes in our place. So you need to observe when the sun rises and the day breaks. It's going to tell you what the day is going to be like, you know. And then, but then every day you, like where we are, we watch where as the sun moves up Haleakala and then back down Haleakala and then into the Lala Keiki channel. And then we know what season we're in. And when you know what season you're in, then you know, is it going to be a lot of rain? Is it going to be more sun? Is the ocean going to be more rough, or is it going to be more calm? Is it going to be the whales are going to be there, which they come from November to March, or is it going to be just the other kind of marine life that flourishes? You know, what kind of limu? Is the limu kala going to be flourish because there's a lot of rain and it thrives? Or is it going to die back because it's dry in summertime? Is there going to be the kohu, and what kind of fish feed off that? So we begin to observe these seasonal changes, and then we know how to adjust and plan for what we do and what we can gather and what we shouldn't gather, and what we can plant and what we shouldn't plant. We shouldn't plant in the summer. We should plant when the first rains come, which is after the fall equinox, the Piko Awakea, and those first rains that come in September and begin through October and build through the makahiki season. That's the time of planting traditionally. And that's a time where, and then comes the summer and, you know, we weed and we take place. But, you know, so you begin to come ma'a, they say ma'a, accustomed to this life, and we live our life according to the day-to-day changes with the sun, and from the morning to sunset, and then seasonal, from season, month to month and season to season. So then we also, the other part of this, and we can become, this is not only on Kahoʻolawe, we go home, we do it on our home islands, so we become ma'a to how to take care of our home island. The other element is hana kaulike. Hana kaulike means justified labor, that you do the work that you need to do, again, in alignment with the seasons. So, you know, you weed, a lot of our time is spent removing invasive species from the island. And it's a lot of hard work to keep all the areas cleared. We malama our cultural sites. Our kupuna left us a hale mua, which is where the men are to gather and meet and train and learn how to be good fathers and husbands and grandfathers and raise their young children. We have a haleo papa, whereas the women go to learn about our role in the universe and the powerful role that women have played traditionally as leaders and as the creative force in our society. So we have all these places that we malama and we take care. We create new places where we have a pa hula to perform our hula, and we also, you know, cook our own food. We have now we have a pavilion where we can catch the water runs off the surface as a catchment. It goes into our water tanks, fills our water so we can filter it and have drinking water and use the other water to irrigate our plants. That we have called that rain to come through our makahiki ceremony. And when those rains come, we use it to grow plants and to restore the island. So all this hana kaulike. And then there's the aha ho'ohenoheno. So when we first come to Kahoʻolawe, our first aha is that we ask permission to land. We were going to do this, but we'll do it now so people can hear. How do we ask permission to land? Because we're coming from a very secular, developed place, and we're going into a very sacred space. And we have to acknowledge that there are the spirit of the land. And so we cannot be so bold to just come and make any kind. We have to be humble and we have to ask permission. Will you give us permission to land? So how do we ask? He haki nua nua nei kai. O aba ana yuka. Pehe hiki aku ai o ka leo. Mai paai ka leo. So indeed, a rough and crashing sea. How do we land safely? Please give us that voice, a voice of permission. And then we get the response.
Ane hiki mai o ko le hua lana lana o kana loi. E pai, e ala ka leo. I'm never on the Zodi that does that.
And so that's the permission. You come land. Here's the voice that you asked for. You may land. Yeah. And then when we get there, the first thing we do is we do a kapukai. Because, when we come, it's hard to get separated from our day-to-day life and our kuleana we have at home. Yeah. And sometimes there's like some hihia because, you're kind of dumping things on some people, whatever. There's like, so anyway, what we do is we cleanse. You let everything that's bothering you before you came and release it. So we go back into the ocean. We take, we drink some pa'akai and olena, we cleanse inside. Then we go in and we reflect all the things that are bothering us and we release that into the ocean. And that's the kapukai. And then when we come out, we say, now for the time that we're here, 4 days, we have a kapu of aloha. A kapu of aloha for the land. We come here to work and practice aloha ʻāina. A couple of aloha for each other. We live as an ʻOhana these next few days. And so that, that's the couple of aloha for our akua. We're going to also continue to acknowledge these natural elements and honor them and be respectful and humble. So that's our first ceremonies to get immersed into this new sacred space. And this couple of aloha, we first learned it when in 1992 we had a healing ceremony that was overseen by Parli Kanakaʻole, and it was we brought in all of the major decision makers: Senator Inoue, Governor Waihe'e, Neil Abercrombie, who was congressman at the time, all the OHA trustees, and some senators. And the ceremony was to have offer them an ava cup, an apu of ava. And when they drink this ava, they have to make an oath that they will do everything they can to protect the island and not let it go back to the military. So in the morning, the dawn of that, the Edith Kanakaʻole Foundation, again, the Kanakaʻole family, composed a new song, a new chant to welcome that morning. And now a lot of us know it, but it was first composed and done in August of 1992 on Kahoʻolawe, and that is E ala e kala I kahikina I ka moana hohonu pi I ka lewa nu'u I kahikina aya kala e ala e. So that was, we welcomed a new dawn of a new day, but really dawn of a new era for Kahoʻolawe and for our pai'aina. And that has been really important to spread throughout the ʻāina, to recognize each morning when we get up. So that's part of our lololo, the observance. It's also, we get up, we observe the pre-dawn, and then as the sun is rising, we do e ala e to rise that sun. And that we do in the morning while we're on the island, and that's weaving in again the cultural practice. And then, so cultural practices, and then of course, but the main thing is we come, this island has been abused, so we come to give back. We want to restore the island while we're there. Oh, and I didn't finish the story. So after that, we went, before Ayala Ea on that ceremony, we went into the ocean again to do the cleansing, ritual cleansing. And when we came out, that's when Parli said, well, we know Inoue has been on the other side of us. We've been beefing on, different meetings, hearings, everything. But now we have to come together to get their support. So we're going to have all day, I impose upon you a kapu of aloha. So each of us had to be aloha to all of these guys that, have been on the other side of us for a long time. And we did that kapu of aloha, and now we continue to honor that kapu of aloha in our work for the ʻāina and with all of our communities. But yeah, so on the island we live as kanaka, we practice kanaka, we do and then we engage in the observations. We're always observing the seasonal changes, as I said, doing the hard work, and then also acknowledging our akua and doing that ceremony.
Can I make a note about the hard work? real fast. So there's a mele koʻihonua, old chant mele, done for Lono Ika Makahiki, the chief on the Big Island of Hawaii, son of Keawenuia Umi. And of course, he's son of Umi Aliloa, who is the son of Liloa. Anyway, so Lono Ika Makahiki, a part of a couple of lines from his chant is a mention of Kahoʻolawe, and it says, Hanau Kahoʻolawe, o Kanaloa Kahoʻolawe ka umi o nā moku. Ohana o Kahoʻolawe he lōpā. Lōpā is the key word there. Lōpā are those who work really hard. Those who, another saying that we have for lōpā are kua lena lena I ka lā. So because they work so hard, their backs are bent over in the sun, it comes lena lena, beyond burnt. It becomes all crusty, yellow. That's a sign of a very hard worker in old Kanakadom. And the Kahoʻolawe is no different today. The people that go to Kahoʻolawe work really hard to go. Work really hard while there. Work really hard when they get off island, when we get off island, to spread the gospel of Kahoʻolawe. As we seen in the film earlier, and George Helm he really hit those points in every one of his talks about how, and I believe Laura, you mentioned it. If every Kanaka could just touch that land. If every Kanaka could just touch that land. How many 30-something years or so, I don't know, been going Kahoʻolawe, and it's almost like every year, every access, you hear a story about how somebody has been changed. Somebody has been deeply affected by their access to Kahoʻolawe, by their touching the sands of Kahoʻolawe. So, yeah, anywai, lōpā. Hanau Kahoʻolawe he lōpā. So, that's our role, I believe, within this whole Ea movement, is just to do the work. And, we're, Auntie and I, we're in the academy, we're academics. We maybe our hands aren't quite as la'ola'o or calloused as they were at one time, but the fingertips are busy. We're busy doing this kind, talking, but there's a lot of people who do a lot of hard work. There's a lot of people who do a lot of hard work.
Mahalo, Kaliko.
Can I say something? Imai. Can we pai lima no imai?
Yeah.
He's a good friend, Imai. I've known him since he was probably 18. I met him at the rim of a basketball game. We was playing basketball. He was going for a layup, and I said no. But Willie Kawhi was there. Was all playing. We was all playing ball. Never would have thought that guy Imai would be running Lā Hoʻihoʻi Ea and would have devoted a big chunk of his adult life to that. So mahalo nui Imai for that.
Mahalo,
I know.
Imai.
And you guys can see him Sunday. He's gonna be talking, planning, and he's gonna be running all kinds of stuff. Super stressed out, but please show him some aloha, but no bother him. He planning for do.
So we have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We have about 10 minutes, and we want to open up for audience questions. And I guess I want to acknowledge all of the confluence of everything happening, right? We are trying to live in kapua aloha, live in reverence, live as Kanaka, but we're also living in continued illegal occupation. We're also living in a time where we celebrate Lā Hoʻihoʻi Ea, that once was, that restoration for that period of time. We get together, we celebrate it every July. We're also living in a time where RIMPAC exercises are going on, and at a time where we're now 3 years and 3 weeks away from the date that the Army's 65-year leases expire. So there's a lot of planning for those leases. And the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana is celebrating 50 years. And I know something we've been hearing a lot from the ʻOhana is we're not done, right? And so I guess with all that in mind, does anyone have any questions or just mana'o that you want to share too? We want to open it up.
Oh,
Aloha.
First, I want to thank you guys. I've learned so much.
oh,
So,
oh,
coming, it's not a huge crowd. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's not a big crowd. But the people who are here, there's got to be a reason that they're here.
oh, yeah.
So I was on George Santos' rooftop in 1971. Yeah, I'm old. And then, you know, we went from there to Hawaiʻi and so forth. So, you know, we were part of that whole group, Kokua Hawaii. And many of these people are gone now. But then comes Kahoʻolawe. And I'm trying to do my student teaching because I decided after Kahoʻolawe Valley that, okay, I think the best way for me to reach a lot of people is to go into education. I may not have been right, but I spent the next many years. I did high school and I did middle school, my love. But when I was at Waianae High School, I think that was my first trip to Kahoʻolawe. And it was a trip where Mikey, and I don't even remember his last name, but he was in the Navy or something.
Oh,
Oh, Lā Hoʻihoʻi.
Lā Hoʻihoʻi.
With Doc,
And
Doctor.
he was the liaison for the Navy or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Oh, this is like
With us.
90.
And
Yeah.
on that trip,
Oh.
they brought the guava logs from Big Island. So Skippy was on that trip. And who is that from Waikane? I can't remember. But anyway, this was the group that we were
Harvey
with.
Ota.
And I thought it was going to drown because those guava logs, well, that was really dangerous bringing those in for that.
Those are ohia logs.
Ohia logs.
Was it Ohia?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it
Yeah.
was guava. But anyway, so that was the beginning of that. They brought it in and started constructing that. So since then, I had been on a number of trips to the island, probably before you were born.
Maybe not, but
I struck me dead off that zodiac, and I said, oh, I don't know, I gotta think about this. But I took my children there. So my son and my daughter were amongst the first keiki to go with Kale.
oh yeah.
Kale's two
Oh,
daughters.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And they were, surprisingly for my kids, they were very well behaved. They did very well. They loved it there, you know? And it was because of their good behavior, and they started to allow more children to go.
Oh yeah.
And so my daughter was in the Hawaiian immersion, so she made trips through them. And then, you know, Oku always asks, so you want to go on my work trip? And yeah, okay. And after a while, it's like, oh, my son, oh, you go. So he and Laura became very good friends, and every time Laura had a chance to go, he always called my son, oh, we go. So on one of those trips with the kids, Paka and Dana and Isaac couldn't come over with us. So they came over while we were there. So you see this small boat coming in.
Yes, yes, we do.
So, but on the way in, that Dana says to us, coming to the island on this little boat, and coming in and seeing Kahoʻolawe, seeing you folks in Kahoʻolawe, and she said, it was just like going back in time
Oh yeah.
to what life was like in the old days, yeah? And that's kind of what you guys are describing. When you say touch the land, I've taken students there, I've gone with different groups, and every single person who goes there changes. They've changed. Look at Mikey. Look where he is now, right? It's just, and back then I thought, why is he doing that? He should be doing what we're doing, right? But it has changed so many lives, and now to hear you folks talk about these cultural practices, and there are things that can be done not only on the island, but you bring them home to where you're at and continue doing that. And also the language, you know? So my daughter was in that third graduating class at Kahoʻolawe at Kaliko. And so, remember she was so little when we did that one long thing. And it's, all of these things put together have really moved everything ahead. I mean, people are doing cultural practices on every island, in every different, whether
It's like second nature, huh?
everything, yeah.
Second nature.
Not me though, unfortunately. I'm trying to catch up now because I was taking care of my daughter and then my parents and my dad lived to the ripe old age of 103 and a half. And so he just passed away. So it is kind of time consuming work of love. But I just want to say too, I'm sorry taking so much time, but to each and every one of you who's in here, because I saw a lot of people raise their hands that you've never been to the island, make it happen, and then you'll understand, and you'll come back to wherever you're from, and you'll understand. That'll help you understand what your next step will be. Your life will change.
Mahalo.
Oh yeah.
Mahalo nui. Yeah.
And we will stick around a little bit and talk story and get names and contact info too.
Keoni.
What's it? Okay, Kioni. I took your class in '76. You do remember that?
Yes, of course. Hard to forget.
And part of it was involved with Kahoʻolawe, but I'd like to be able to go on the island legally now. And that was during the time when too many things were happening on that island. So there are parts of it that I wanted to see again, which would be the giant moki that used to be there. Do you remember?
Yes.
About the size of your hand. The one where the sharks are on the other side. As well as the caves. I wanted to go and see those caves to see if one of them is still there, the one with the doors, the one that the military had. The weekend place that we used to come down there for recreation and stuff. I was always interested because when we went over there, since it wasn't legal, it was like Grand Central Station on the weekends. Yeah, that's because everybody was together. So we passed by each other, pointing at each other, and said, "You want to know?" I said, "No, we just want to see." You do remember that most of us were returning Vietnam War veterans, where people were telling us a bunch of crap about how dangerous it was. We used to laugh at them. I think we know what we're stepping on. So, going back to it, I'd like to go back legally.
Yeah,
I know
sure. You should contact Mike.
My name is Allison.
Aloha.
A quick question, is the ʻOhana involved in the negotiations for the new leases?
military leases? Are we involved in the
Oh,
military?
we're part of the effort to stop the renewal, but we're not at the table.
We don't have a
Yeah,
seat at the
we
table now.
we are willing to give advice and share lessons learned, but we're not on the governor's committee or the OHA. Well, actually, we do have one representative on the Office of Hawaiian Affairs committee on military leases, and they are going to come to the island on August 10 and we hopefully can share what we learned. Mike Nahopi, who's been both Navy and then was part of the cleanup and is now the executive director for the Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve Commission. He'll be there, and Stanton Inamoto, who's now with the Department of Interior Office of Native Hawaiian Relations, but he was part of the Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve Commission during the negotiations with the Navy, is going to be there. So we're going to have a chance to share with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Committee. But I think generally, I don't even know if OHA is really at the table. One of the things is the governor is not being inclusive in how he's approaching it. But he has his own committee he's set up that does have, I know Kuyo Lewis is on it, and I forget her name, Mahina Paishan. So they have some good people on it as well.
Yeah.
But we're part of the group that's trying to stop the military leases.
Only about Kahoʻolawe and not about any of the other military.
No, no. Well, primarily,
Yeah,
right?
I mean for Kahoʻolawe, and I think 76 was the first. Oh, with the military, it's focused on Kahoʻolawe. Yeah.
Primarily, for
Primary,
sure.
yeah. But there was at the time that Makua Valley had started also.
Yeah.
I think George mentions Makua Valley and these Puhakuloa. There was already activity around there, but then when the bombing stopped, it focused on Kahoʻolawe.
One of the models of the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana is what we do on Kahoʻolawe, we do at home. So demilitarization of Kahoʻolawe was a major point of emphasis for the island. It would also be a major point of emphasis when people go home. So to say that the PKO wasn't involved in things would be like saying the PKO wasn't involved in Mauna Kea. A lot of those first arrests, a few of those first arrests were PKO people. So yeah.
Mahalo. We just want to thank you folks so much for having us. Thanks to Imai and the Lā Hoʻihoʻi Ea organizers for having us and our hosts here tonight. We so appreciate you folks coming out and talking story. And I think we're going to clear out of the building so that the security and everyone, all the staff can go home. But we'll hang around a little bit out front if you guys want to talk story about how to come on and access and stay connected with the Protect Kahoʻolawe ʻOhana. Mahalo nui.
Aloha
it's,
nui kākou. Paiki.
If you're interested to keep in touch, protectkahoʻolaweohana.org is our web page, and then it has information about how you can go.
We get choked stuff.
And Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve Commission too. So yeah, Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve Commission and protectkahoʻolaweohana.org.